This is an island cart that I built for my wife. This cart has 4 corner posts that came out of a Craftsman house here in town, and it's old growth yellow pine, about 100 years old. Can't buy that stuff on the market anymore. The metal that you see here and the towel rack that's around back is from a fence that my grandfather built in the 50s. So this has a lot of nostalgia and meaning to it as well. The sapele mahogany that's in the center here is from a job that we did at my office. These drawers that are in the middle actually go both ways. So they go all the way through, and that allows easy access from both sides. This one here on this side has a knife insert already there, and this is out of mesquite wood, like this is from the other side that my sister-in-law gave me. And this was cut out, shaped, and saw blade kerfs in here to allow for the knives. And I'll take this tape off once I put it in for the last time, because as you can see, it's a little bit of a tight fit and would be hard to get out otherwise. There's shuttles inside here that are encapsulated because the drawers are screwed on. You'll see that further in detail in the rest of this video. The doors are raised panel doors, and this allows for more storage in the kitchen. Has freed up a lot of space for the knife drawers back in the other cabinets. Coming around to this end of the cabinet, this is the rest of the metal that came off of my grandfather's fence, and I fashioned it into a towel bar. And you can continue watching to see the rest of the process that it took for me to build this. Here's the old growth pine porch beams that I had. I cut them to length and then will cut them in half or split them so that I have 4 posts. I don't have a lot of pictures or videos of this beginning because I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but I am using these pictures to start this clip. I will take the mahogany frame here and am making tenons on those, which I eventually will cut in half and insert from either side of the post. This is the frame with the sapele mahogany frames, mortise and intended into the corner posts. And you can see here the framework of the drawers and the cabinet space below. The tops of these posts had a little bit of a blowout, so this is epoxied so that will strengthen it and secure it to hold it together well. Here I am adding a mahogany plywood bottom to this island cart, and it is clamped and drying. Here's the frames for the raised panel doors. Here's the blanks, the panels that I'm going to make the raised panels out of. And I have made these panels here, and I've got to shave them to fit right, but those are going to be on this end. This is the jig for cutting raised panels. This lip helps to hold the panel in place. I've already made the side cuts, and I do those first so that there's less splinter. I set it on this so it's resting on this hardboard down at the bottom, and then clamp it to this and make the cut. Mounted now, and there's a magnetic catch on either one of these to hold them shut. The island cart is up on the table saw right now because I've been going through putting pinholes in, using a jig to put pinholes in so that I can put shelves in later. I've got the middle partition in, and this is where I need to make the rail and shuttles and then I can start making the drawers after, then I'll know what size to make the drawers. So this is gonna be a two-way drawer. And this outside screen here that's going up here, I'm gonna need to cut a relief out of the back so that I can do the same that I'm over here. These are the shuttles that I'm using for the two-way drawers. But I made them one long piece or a couple of long pieces, and I just cut them into 4-inch pieces. And I will link the article that I got this from. Pretty instructive. This piece I'm moving is going to be attached to the drawer, and I've got more than 1/8 of an inch in because that piece is moving freely, but these shuttles are gonna ride in between the drawer and the cabinet. They'll have magnets on either end to attach to the stile and to the drawer front, which will keep them moving back and forth. So trying to get those fitted. You can see I already had to shim them out, and because I got them too narrow, now I'm trying to get them to the right side. I've used a metal plate and to position the magnets, and then one on the back side right here, and then 2 on the front where they'll match stile and drawer front, back of the drawer front, and use the metal plate to hold the magnets in place while the epoxy dries. All right, these drawers now are pretty well fitted. These sleds are going to be encapsulated in between here once I get the fronts on. I've got it turned up on its side because I'm putting some shelves in, and these will be bookshelves. The books will sit here, this being the top, of course. So this shelf is free-handed or free hanging, so I'm making a metal bracket here as kind of a drawbridge look, but it'll help keep the books in. And I'm gonna do the same thing here, except I'll bend this tab in to bolt it in. So I'm just kind of cleaning this up a little bit. These are slats from an old wood fence. These are metal from an old wood fence of my grandfather's. These 2 drawers are now, fronts are all set, and they slide. This is gonna be knife drawers to set knives, and I still need to build the tray to hold the knives, and they'll slide in. But you see that the drawers are going all the way through so that they're accessible from either side. And what allows them to do that is a rail on the cabinet, both sides, and a rail on the drawer itself. And then there's these shuttles that slide with the magnets, because there's a magnet on the cabinet frame, there's a magnet inside the drawer frame front, and that helps these shuttles to ride back and forth, and they come together and they keep the drawer from going too far out, but they allow the drawer to move out. And so that's about 3/4 of the drawer right there. The rest of it can be accessed from the other side, so you can get to everything. I have sprayed the cart twice with a clear polyurethane finish. I actually sprayed it 4 times, twice in each setting, and steel wooled it in between each one. And then after this last one, I went back and put a furniture oil just to, you know, after you steel wool it and wipe it, it just has a dull finish, but this brought the richness out, and it'll dry to a matte sheen once it gets a little bit dry. So this is the last time it's going to be apart, and it's all starting to go together now and move into the kitchen. This is the knife slot that I'm working on right now. I've got the prototype worked out. This is scrap plywood that I've used to figure out what I'm going to do. So I know this will work, and I like this style because I can put longer knives back here and the blades go all the way to the front. I can put shorter knives up here. So I'm doing this in a series of pieces and then putting it together. I had this piece of mesquite given to me by sister-in-law for birthday a few years ago. Not everybody appreciates a gift like that, but I do, and I chose to use it to make the knife drawers out of, or the knife insert for the drawers. And this one, I knew it had a branch going through the middle of it, and I wasn't sure, but as I cut it up, you know, that's quite a bit of pieces coming apart. And as I started cutting this out, you can see that this is loose here, so that came loose. So as I go further with this, which here's the pattern for the knife drawers, and as I go to cut this out, this is going to start to fall apart even more. And I have seen on Chris on A Glimpse Inside and Andy Rawls and quite a few others talk about this epoxy by Total Boats, so I'm going to give that a try. In order to keep being able to use this wood, I am filling in where the cracks are from this limb that was going through this piece of wood, using a heat gun to help with the bubbles, and it is helping. So after I had the blocks dried, I trimmed them up by running them over a joiner and through a thickness planer to get them down. And then I traced out the pattern onto this, and I was able to get 2 out of 1 block. So then I cut them out with this bandsaw. What I'm going to do now is tape these up, and I can come back with and brush some epoxy in to fill these cracks in. You can see that the worst parts of it are okay. And then where these were not exposed until I cut them open, now you can see them and they're exposed. So I'm gonna epoxy that. I love the way the grain is showing already on these. And I will keep working at these until I get them to where they're filled up. Using the pattern, I thought I would start first with this bit, but it's just not quite, or I cut my wood too thick for the distance here, and it's just not quite getting it on one pass. So what I'm doing is coming back with a pattern bit, an actual pattern bit, and then I will come back. So I'm doing each one of these with that pattern bit, and then I'll come back with this flush trim, and then I'll be able to get each one done. So it's going to take 2 passes. So here I finished routing them. Next I will glue them together. There's a couple of them that had some chip out, not as bad as these 2, so I'm setting these 2 aside. I'll glue these up in 2 sections because I need to get them into these drawers from either side, and I'll get on, after they're glued up, I'll sand with a belt sander. Now I am in the process of sanding. I've gone 80 grit already, and I'm down to 120 on this homemade drum wheel. I used a hole saw to cut these out on a drill press. I had a bearing that I used on this dowel, and I'm using a battery drill motor to turn this, and it's working very well. I've got a metal sleeve or a metal piece to hold the belt in there, and I'm going to keep going down the grits until I get to 400. They are sanded, and now I'm going to cut the slots in here for the knives to sit, and I'm setting up my table saw to do that. I am using a Watco Butcher Block Oil and Finish, safe for food contact. Easy wipe on, but I'm using a brush because to get into these grills. But you can see the luster that it adds to it. Of course, it'll dry a little. Cart completely finished. This drawer, she's already got Tupperware lids and such in that can be accessed from both sides again. And the knife drawer is finished. So you can see the big cleaver right here. I think there's 26 knives in there, and it's set up to where the long knife can be back here. This was the longest one, I think, that really, well, no, there's some that are longer, but then shorter steak knives up this side. And because the drawer slides to the other side, it's easy to access all the knives. And here's that cleaver again. So that is the finished product. Since you made it this far, would you please give me a thumbs up, and if you like it, subscribe.